Welcome to this episode of Locked In. In this episode, I'm going to be taking my Pateron Redwood and essentially changing my gravel bike into a 90s mountain bike. So in this mini series, I'm just going to be doing a few parts. I'm not exactly sure how many actually this is going to take, but in this one, I'm going to be flat bar converting my Pateron Redwood from its Advent X drop bar setup to an Advent X flat bar setup with a bar and components provided from Pateron themselves. This is actually the kit that they would use on the flat bar Pateron X's. So I'm going to be putting this and routing it to the Pateron Redwood. Make sure to comment below if this is something you want them to offer as something you can order direct from them for the Redwood itself. So in this video, I'm mainly just gonna be converting this to a flat bar bike, getting it mechanically ready and shifting correctly, and give you my first real impressions on how this Advent X trigger shifter works. Because again, this is stock components for the Advent X if you were gonna buy the group set yourself, and I just recently put out a review of that full group set. So this video will give you my impressions of the trigger shifter by itself. Then in the next video, I'm going to be swapping out possibly the stem and addressing the fit changes going from a drop bar to a flat bar, as well as I probably will be addressing the gearing on this bike because I am planning for a bike packing trip. So I may be dropping the front chain ring, as well as, if you haven't seen the video already, I did stuff some 2.6s on this bike, and they do clear front and rear, which is beyond the 2.5 stated width on Pateron's website. So I'm really excited about that, and that definitely got me interested in doing this flat bar conversion. So if that's something you want to see, please stay tuned. So the easiest way, in my opinion, to do this is just simply pull all the cables from your brake calipers and the rear derailleur. Again, I'm not reusing this cable or housing, so the easiest thing for me is to simply loosen up all your pinch bolts and cut the ends off each cable nice and clean, and then pulling all of that through. Because again, we are going to be replacing this. I do recommend doing new cable and housing because since I'm doing a different bar, you may be able to make this work and reuse this if you were doing this yourself and wanted to retain your cabling. What I would suggest doing is, worst case scenario, your shift cable probably needs to be replaced because of the width of the bars, even though most stock bikes leave a lot of extra cable housing when doing this. But worst case scenario for your brakes, you can always run your rear brake housing and cut it down to your front brake, and then just cut one new brake cable and brake housing to save you some money. So now that everything's disconnected, you can see it here hanging freely. I'm simply gonna just disconnect this bar all together, tape up the ends of that so the cable housing is attached to the cable itself and doesn't slip off. Again, keep everything kind of nice and neat, and store that away for later. So lastly, we're gonna take this last bolt off, taking this whole handlebar setup completely off, and throwing the flat bar on. So now we can attach the flat bar setup. Now obviously you can run whatever bar, whatever grips that you want. Obviously you want the levers to be the same pull ratio as whatever brakes you're running on your current bike, and obviously you want a trigger shifter to match whatever derailleur that you're running. They don't sell this as a complete kit, but again, you'd obviously want something compatible with whatever your bike you're doing this on, if it isn't exactly, obviously, this exact bike. So it's simple. We're not going to be doing a full tutorial on how to cable your bike. There are plenty of videos on how to do that. We're simply just going to be adding this in, and I already really like the look. I thought these brown grips would be kind of funky, but to be honest, with the kind of army green, I think this is going to look really nice all together. Now obviously there is going to be some fine tuning that I will be discussing in the next video, because I am going to be discussing the fit of this and seeing how it feels as far as the reach goes. So if you want to attempt this at home, you can kind of have a rough idea what you might need to do. On top of the conversion price is factoring in a stem change. And for numbers' sake, for anybody who hasn't seen my full review, I am about 5'11", and this is a size large. I do have kind of short legs, but I always tell people that you want the bike to be sized to you when you're riding it. So if the standard height is a little tight, I don't really mind that. That's kind of always the case because I have very short legs for my height, so that's always kind of been a thing. But wow, I really already like that, and I think that's going to look really, really good once it's all said and done. There's obviously going to be adjustment with the angle of the bar and where I like it, as well as where I want the brake levers and the shifter. So that's going to be something, again, covered in the next video, fine-tuning it. We just want to get everything cabled and functioning in this video. So now that that's all attached, let's cable the bike and see how it feels. So it's all dialed in. Obviously there's gonna be some fine tune and tweaking based on the fit, so I did leave a little bit extra cabling than I normally would, just in case I do need to go one stem longer. I doubt I'm gonna need to go more than one stem length over this, just because of the width of the bar. And obviously if I go wider in an aftermarket bar, I don't want to go anything longer than this. So that'll obviously give me a little bit of flexibility either in the stem or the width of the bar laid on the line. Anytime I ever set up a new bike, I always leave the cables long on the calipers and on the rear derailleur so I can adjust them. And it's easy to pull them if I do need to pull them out fully. that it just makes it a lot easier process since you obviously can't add shift cable or housing back. So in part 2, I'm going to be going over my fit impressions as well as what I think I'm going to need to be changing. I do have some parts on order, that's why this video is not any longer than this. But initially, honestly, this shifter from Advent X feels really good and really snappy. I really like the feel and the action on it. Obviously, everything's brand new with a brand new cable, so it's gonna feel good kind of regardless, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised with how well this feels. So I hope you like this video. Please make sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Links in the description below, as well as you can support this channel via my Spreadshirt with cool, slow but pro, and locked in merch, as well as you can support me on Patreon. And thanks for watching another episode of Locked In.